We are back with week 6 of our Barrell versus Bardstown series, and guys, I gotta be honest with you, this is closer than I ever thought it would be. We have 9 Barrell products, we have 9 Bardstown products. I put them together head-to-head in a 9-week program to find out who is the king of the blend. But listen, it's not just my opinion. I sent every one of these matchups to 2 different patrons, so 2 people tried this particular matchup, but they had no idea what they were drinking. They don't even know that these 2 are going up against each other, so you have my opinion as well as 2 points right there. Let's keep going and find out who's gonna win this. So as I mentioned, we do this blind here. My patrons did not know which was going up against which. They didn't know which ones they were drinking. They just knew which 9 bottles were involved. Where are my blacked out Glens? So there was no way for them to cheat. Again, we're gonna do this blind as well, so we don't know which one's which. Let's spin this up. This is Chris at Whiskey Noobs Podcast. You can check this out. This is called the Solo Blind. I'm excited to get back into this. You saw the score already. Let's find out who's going to get another 3 points, 2 points, 1 point. Everybody knows, time for the traditional sip. Cheers, y'all. Little ethanol-y. Let's introduce our 2 bottles here. On our right, we have Barrell Vantage. This is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished in Mizunara, French, and toasted American oak. So a bunch of different oak going on in here. We have distilled in Indiana, Tennessee, and Kentucky on this. Not much more information. I'm sure there's more online, but let's get into this bottle over here. I tried to keep these very similar along the way. Let's talk proof. 113.54. This is Bardstown Bourbon Company. This is small batch stave finishes, which is a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys finished with oak staves. So again, we've got that oaking, the Mizunara, the American oak, the French oak versus oak staves over here. We have 48% Georgia, 8-year, 80% corn, 10% rye, 5% wheat, 5% malted barley. We have 26% of Bardstown Bourbon Company themselves with a 5-year, 70% corn, 18% rye, 12% malted barley. We have a 20% Kentucky 4-year, 70% corn, 21% rye, 9% malted barley. And we have a 6% Kentucky 12-year, 78, 10, 12. And this, of course, is coming in at 94 proof. So yeah, I couldn't really keep the proofs too similar on that. That seems like the higher proof, but let's get into this glass over here. This seems crazy. This seems crazy. 113 proof versus 94 proof. And I might not be able to tell you which one's which. Now, I don't want to say that. It's very early. I'll probably be able to pick it out. But when you get that oaking finish, you get that staves project, whatever's going on in these glasses here, maybe that adds a little bit of spice to it, you know? Bumps that proof up a little. Maybe this one drinks more like 109 or 108, and this drinks more like 100. You know what I mean? It might seem closer than it actually is. But let's keep going here. We're not worried about which one's which. We're just worried about which one's our favorite. Okay, here's the deal. The front of the palate on this is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. That being said, there's like some fruity notes, some sweetness on this. I really like that. Almost like a maple syrupy note, which is kind of funny. It does get a lot of spice in this. Might be that French oak finish. Might just be one of these finished with staves. You know what I mean? Staves can definitely add like a spicier note to something that's like instead of a double oaking or something like that, which might draw more sweetness out from the barrel. But I will say the back end of this is where I'm not really loving this. This is where it kind of falls into that super oaky, and I know what you're thinking, Chris. This is a staves project, or this is double oaked, or this is finished in all these extra oaks. Of course it's going to be oaky, and I get that. I'm just not the biggest fan of it when it comes to the flavor profile. But I guess like if that's what you're trying to buy, if you're looking for something with all these oak finishes, or you're looking for something with a staves project, it might be something that you're gearing yourself towards. So I don't want to hold it like against it and be like it's bad because it's too oaky and a matchup that's got 2 oaked products in it. I don't know. That being said, again, the front of the palate on this, absolutely phenomenal. Let's get back over to this glass over here. I feel like this was a little less complex, a little more one-dimensional, but who knows? One sec. Yeah, it does seem that way. It does seem a little less complex over here. A lot less sweetness on this as well. The sweetness that's there is your traditional bourbon sweetness. It gives you some vanillas, a little bit of caramel, like a burnt caramel on this, but then it moves right into that oakiness. And even the spiciness is it's very like quiet spiciness. It is spicy. You get that clove, that black pepper, but for me it's a little quiet. It doesn't really hit your palate as hard. Now, is that the 113 proof talking versus the 94 proof? Probably. That's probably what you're getting here. So to compare these might not seem like it's all that fair because you're talking about a cash strength product versus something that's watered down. But I do believe that the actual flavor profile on this one so far is better, and it's giving me a little less tannic note and a little more spiciness. So I feel like that's what I'm gearing myself towards, where this one over here is giving me a little bit of, even at 94 proof possibly, a little bit of an ethanol kick. So let's go back into this glass one more time, see if there's anything else we can pull out of it. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with it. Maybe like a slight cherry note on this, which is kind of funky to think about because I don't think like I don't know if I'm making that up in my head. But this one's not great. I don't love this particular glass over here. Where this one, I don't love it either, but I feel like it's giving me something that I can gear myself towards loving. If you want that extra oaky, that extra tannic, that dry out the palate a little bit with that spiciness and that sweetness, you're not gonna hate this glass over here. It's just, for me, it's not something that I truly love. This is going to be the first one where I feel like it's not very close, and I'm very curious what my two patrons picked on this because I think we're going to go all with the same answer because if I know that, I mean, we haven't so far. I've only actually agreed with one patron. Actually, I've agreed with three because last time it was a sweep for Bardstown, but I think this just seems like an easy pick for me, and I'm hoping it was the same for them. That last sip was a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. Oh, see, now that spiciness, I love that spiciness. That like hit me in the back of the palate with the spiciness a little bit, and it brought out more of like a hot sauce, hot peppery type of spice to me than like a clove or something that you're traditionally getting out of a bourbon. That was really good. I like that. That with that sweetness, and then again, the oak, it's not overpowering. It doesn't take over the glass, but it's definitely there. But again, with these two products, what are you really expecting? Yeah, for me, this isn't close. Again, it might not have been fair with the proofs, but I'm going to go with this glass over here. We're going to find out what this glass is. I'm guessing this is going to be the Barrell, but let's find out what it is, and then let's find out what my two patrons picked. This is the Barrell Vantage. I think this is a very good glass of whiskey if this is what you're looking for. And Barrell does an amazing job with these finishes. I think they're one of the best in the game when it comes to the finishes, which is why I wanted to add so many finishes to all, because it's king of the blend, right? Again, I mentioned this in previous videos where if you have 10 barrels of really, really good whiskey and you blend them together, now not all of the time, but I feel like that's a little bit easier of a decision to make than doing something like, hey, we have this Mizunara finish and this French oak finish and this toasted American oak finish and blending that together. It feels like this is more of the traditional blending process versus just throwing a bunch of good whiskey together. That being said, I do think that Bardstown also is very good at this process, and they have a few in here that I think I'm truly going to love, but in this particular matchup, it just easily goes over to the Barrell Vantage for me, which of course means that this one is going to be our Bardstown. It just says Bards on there, but let's find out who is going to get another 2 points. It could be split, it could be 1-1, that's split, or it could be 2-0. So let's find out what it is. And the answer is, this was Jared Q versus Eric H. And again, this isn't versus. This isn't, they're not going up against each other. I have the answer key here, but they both picked B. If I had to guess, that's going to be the Bardstown. Scratch that, reverse it. It's going to be the Barrell. Yeah, I mean, it's not even close here. This is 3 points for Barrell because we all picked it. So that's 3 points going back to Barrell, which means, again, I think Barrell's ahead by 1 right now. Guys, this is week 6. We have 7, 8, and 9. There's not that much time left, and this is still a 1-point game going into week 7. I can't believe how close this is. I think I put these matchups together perfectly. You'll see the rest coming out here. Make sure you click that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check us out on Instagram. Go click that follow button over there. I keep saying Patreons, but we're off Patreon at this point. We're going to end up somewhere shortly. Make sure you check that out. Again, I'll keep all that information in my Discord, that link in the description below. Please don't drink and drive. Always drink responsibly. Stay healthy, stay happy, and stay doing matchups like this because Barrell versus Bardstown are 2 of the best in the game when it comes to blending. It's just too quiet. 94 proof though.